and welcome back to Body Beyond the Scales, the podcast that gets you stronger and more confident in your body through building better habits. So, today is going to be a Q&A episode. I'm going to be running through about 4 questions, and yeah, the ones that kind of like keep cropping up on my social media or you've DM me directly. So yeah, let's talk through them. We're going to be talking about specific workouts for PCOS. Does weight loss maintenance mean that you're never going to need to lose weight again? Motivation's at an all-time low. How to navigate that, and do you have to lift weights to lose weight? And yeah, so that's going to be what's coming up in today's episode. So the answer is 4 questions. So let's start off with PCOS then, because I think this is a really interesting one and something that I think more people experience than you realize. Only tends to take a couple of conversations with people, like and like chatting with friends and stuff, and you realize how common PCOS actually is. And I think it's really important that we have these conversations because, well, first off, there is a lot of misinformation about PCOS, and second off, you can start to see that it's not a it's not death sentence basically to be diagnosed with PCOS. I am obviously speaking as someone who does not have PCOS, so please do bear that in mind. And this is just what I have learned about it, and have learned how to manage it. I work with a lot of people who experience PCOS or who have PCOS, so yeah, it's really important to just be at this. So, are there specific workouts for PCOS? There are no specific workouts, but there are things that will help your PCOS and will help you when it comes to navigating your life with PCOS. So first off, I've got these recommendations from a systematic review, and what that is just a review of lots of studies. So it kind of like reviews the literature that's currently out there, and this is the conclusions that they kind of reach. So they said that you want to be doing 30 minutes of vigorous cardio at least 3 times per week, resistance training using progressive overload, so like lifting weights each week, and then getting heavier as time goes on, at least 3 times a week, and optionally you might add in something like yoga, which may help with stress and that and menstrual like regularity. Now, saying all of those things is great, and this is what might be optimal, but that's not really what's practical. And what I want you to take away from this, if you are someone with PCOS, is I want you to think of how we can practically apply this in your life. And working out 6-7 times per week probably isn't that. So here's how I would integrate all of that together to make a structured program that would work for you. Now, what I would suggest is prioritizing the resistance training. There's 2 reasons because of this. One, resistance training has lots of benefits, such as building muscle and increasing like bone density. Both of these are super important if you are a woman or a person who has periods. So it's really important that you are you are addressing this. You want to be doing some sort of resistance training. The second reason is most types of PCOS are insulin resistant PCOS, which means that your body is not as good at taking up glucose, which means that you can have a higher blood glucose level, and that can lead to lots of problems down the line. It can be like basically a precursor for type 2 diabetes. So what we want to do is we want to give your body as much of a chance to improve that insulin sensitivity, so that the insulin effectively acts like your mate that knows the bouncer to get you into the club. So we want to make them as friendly as possible so that they're more likely to let you into the club. So that being said, when you resistance train, your muscles become more insulin sensitive so that they can take in more glucose, which is great if you have PCOS, because it just means that your body can take the glucose out of your bloodstream, which again reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes. So this is really important to do if you are anybody. Do resistance training. I can't stress this enough. Just resistance training, so lift weights. So that's the first part of that. Now, I would say you can get away with doing twice per week, if that's what you can fit in your schedule. I'd say twice is practical for most people. 3 times per week, preferably. Like if you can get that in, and more than that, great. Yeah, sure. But like with the returns will be diminishing by that point. But like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going down, but it's just the law of diminishing returns, that you're just not getting as much gain as it was what you would be from sessions 1, 2, and 3. So my goal for you would be to start off by doing at least 2 resistance training sessions per week, but you can work your way up by doing 1 session and then that's it. The next thing to think about then is that cardio. Now, they recommended getting in at least 30 minutes of vigorous cardio 3 times per week. Now, vigorous cardio is a bit of a empty statement, and they've probably done this on purpose because vigorous cardio can mean different things for different people. If you spoke about vigorous cardio for me, bearing in mind that a few days ago I ran a half marathon, it's going to be running at like quite a fast pace. Vigorous cardio for someone who has not done any exercise for the last 10 years might be walking at a brisk pace. Like, so vigorous cardio is a open to interpretation kind of thing, and it's going to be very specific to your life. So what I would like for you to do here is ask yourself is, what can you do for 30 minutes where we're going to be getting that heart rate up? And that's what I want you to focus on, is getting that heart rate up. What I'd suggest here is 15 to 20 minutes after you've done your resistance training session, doing some either walking, doing some time on the bike. And I want you to focus on getting your heart rate up. I don't want the heart rate to be down, but just basically getting that heart rate up and moving your body, doing some cardio like this stuff. The Stairmaster is a good example as well of something that you can do whatever was within your scope to just get that heart rate up. Bonus points if you can make that into intervals. So you could do a minute on and then like a minute of slow walking. So you do a minute of like really fast walking or potentially running, and then a minute of slow walking, then a minute of running, and then a minute of slow walking, and do that for your 15 minutes. You could also do like 2 to 3 minutes of vigorous intensity and then slow down for a minute, 2 to 3 minutes, and then slow down for a minute, and so on. You just play around with that. It's okay to do it as an irregular thing, just start like training. So yeah, just make sure that you like get your heart rate up and you move that into that higher zone for 10 to 15 minutes per session. That would be absolutely fine. And this is a way that you can kind of, again, condense this down into shorter sessions. So asking yourself basically, can I work out twice per week? And then after those 2 times, can I put 15 minutes of cardio in at the end? Yeah, easy. So that is super realistic, I think, there for most people. I would also say then on a day-to-day basis, though, that I would encourage you to move your body regularly, and I would encourage you to get your steps in. This will just give you a bit more of a base when it comes to like your moderate cardio. So just walking fast enough. And again, if you're someone who like a brisk walk would get your heart rate up, perfect. Use that as your time as well. Like you can get some extra bonus time in there. So basically just moving your body as much as possible that you can feasibly manage. Now, I would also recommend, if you can, to get some sort of mobility yoga practice in, if possible. But like, I would say that is the bottom of the priority list. The top of the priority list should be that strength training. Then it should be like getting that cardio, and like I said, you can tie that into that session. And then you can do that and then you can get some yoga in if you want, basically. It's like as that additional thing. But I would say if you can combine this into like 3 60-minute workouts per week, where you do 45 minutes of lifting, 15 minutes of like cardio at the end, ding, 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 I think you've got your PCOS workout there, and you don't need something like super specific other than that. And to be honest, that program, anybody could follow that and they would be absolutely grand. That is a recommendation I would give to pretty much most people. That doesn't need to be specific to PCOS. Like this is how you get strong. This is how you have a body that is built for longevity as well. But yeah, just asking yourself what you can do and using it to your advantage as well. One thing actually just to mention here is when people have PCOS, what it often means, so PCOS, to just clarify, is an androgen. It's a basically it's an endocrine issue, which just means it's a hormonal issue, and you have higher levels of androgen hormones and testosterone involved within that. Now, testosterone is very useful for building muscle, so use that to your advantage. That, like I've just spoken about building muscle. If you have PCOS, you are going to build muscle slightly more readily than someone who doesn't have PCOS. Use it. Literally use it to your advantage. It would be a benefit to build muscle, so build that muscle, and it's going to be slightly easier for you than it would be. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. If you have any more questions on this, feel free to DM me on it or like leave a comment. But yeah, that's where we're leaving that one. Next question then. So does weight loss maintenance mean never trying to lose weight again? No, but I would say it does mean never having to start again. And the reason I say that is that, like, I think if we're constantly starting over at ground zero, then that's not weight loss maintenance. That is, we've lost weight, we've regained weight, we've lost weight, that's yo-yo dieting. And like that that is not what we're after. However, saying that you will stay at a static body weight forever and ever and ever is an unrealistic expectation. And when you look at the scientific literature around weight loss maintenance, the general definition that they give is that you have lost 10% of your body weight and you've kept it off for a year. Like, and that is That's pretty much it. Even if you regain it after that year, they kind of just look at the year mark. There will be studies that look longer and say, like, look over that 10-year period, what's happening. And yeah, basically they will look at to see the changes over time, but generally most studies that talk about weight loss maintainers will have only looked at that year mark. So the way that we kind of like work around this, and the thing to be aware of, is that weight loss maintenance is about self-correction. It's about monitoring what's going on and making adjustments. So one habit of weight loss maintainers is that they self-monitor, and by that means that they self-monitor their weight, they self-monitor their like aesthetics, like photo measurements potentially. They also self-monitor their food intake. They self-monitor their exercise. They are aware of what they are doing. They are aware of their habits and their inputs. I think this is a key thing to remember, because a lot of the time when we think about dieting, we think about going back to what we were doing before, and like you diet, you lose weight, and then you go back to what you were doing before. This is a very diet culture way of doing it, and this is what gets you stuck in the yo-yo cycle. When you are making this change, and we are making the last time that you start, you need to be aware that that means that you're not going back to quote unquote normal, like what you were doing before, because that's what got you to the place that you're in now. And we can't go back to those behaviors. We want to make a shift. So, and part of that can be quite scary, like leaving the identity behind, and like leaving the things that you are doing and the behaviors that you are doing. That can be scary for a lot of people, and I think that's a reason why a lot of people end up like regaining the weight, is because like they don't necessarily identify with the person that they have become. Like they don't identify with the person who exercises regularly or eats nutritious food, or they've gone to such an extreme that like it just isn't them. like there's no part of their personality or like their life that they are enjoying, so they go back to the thing that they knew that they enjoyed last. So yeah, I think it's really worth remembering here that like we're not after perfection, and that's the thing here. So like you will have times where your weight will start to increase. Weight loss maintainers catch that, they nip it in the bud, and they bring that weight back down again. And that might mean going through a shorter dieting phase. But realistically, it's going to take you 6 months, a year to get to the point where you want to be. 3 months of dieting, that would be at a sustainable rate, maybe losing half a pound a week, like to get you back down from, say, you've creeped up by 10 pounds and you just want to get yourself back down again. Like that is so much easier than the 6 months, 12 months, 18 months that you've dedicated of your life to getting yourself down into this place in the first instance. So I want you to remember it's about context, like, and dieting or rather losing weight again, like after you have, like if you start to notice that the weight creeps up, is absolutely fine. What I would say is just you've got to resist the urge to diet immediately, because you will get this when you first go into maintenance. You will get this like urge to diet and to lose weight again. You're like, oh, maybe I need to lose some more weight. Maybe I'll need to lose weight. Oh, my weight's gone up, and I immediately need to lose it again. And that's not the case. It's important to give yourself a range and a spectrum, and then just to say, if I go above this spectrum, I will then lose weight again. I'm like, at the moment, I'm kind of like on the edge of where I want to be. I've really been struggling with like basically deciding how I want to navigate the next few months, because I have some goals for next year that are very performance based and will require me making sure I'm fueling my body correctly, and going through a fat loss phase probably wouldn't be best for that. And I'm kind of at the top range of my, like, where I want to be for my maintenance before I kind of like start to self-correct it. And this is where I'm at the moment, because basically whenever I train for a half marathon, my weight always ends up increasing. My appetite always disproportionately increases compared to my like energy output. But I also tend to find that like I have to I end up fueling like an excess basically to feel better in my body, from a performance standpoint. So I tend to notice that around half marathons I tend to put slightly more weight on. So I'm aware that like I'm in like the worst of it, and it will probably just drop naturally when I am not in a half marathon training like block, which I'm about to go into. So yeah, all of that is like put aside, basically just having a spectrum to basically be like, right, you're at the top of where you want to be, address this now, save yourself some trouble, and let's not get back to where we started. And that's what I mean by like, it's not about starting again, but it is about self-correcting and correcting where it feels most appropriate. I want to like highlight as well that like weight is not the be all and end all. I am heavier now than what I was at the end of my weight loss journey, but I am significantly less bothered about that, and my maintenance spectrum has increased because basically I have built more muscle. The amount of muscle that I have now compared to the amount of muscle that I have had when I first lost weight is significantly higher. And basically I have an arse now, and I would really rather not lose that. And like that is going to weigh more as well, like because I have like more muscle on my glutes, like I have more muscle on my legs, so like I am going to be at a heavier body weight, and my maintenance is fine, but like I look better. Like I've got a photo of me at like, I think it was like 63 kg before and 63 kg like more recently, and that is like, yeah, look at that and I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. like I look better now than what I did at 63 kg before. So just remembering that like weight is not the be all and end all. So self-monitoring behaviors can come down to things like weighing yourself, yes, but like how your clothes fit in. Do you like how you look in the mirror? How do you feel in yourself? Like how do you feel in your body? And is your body performing the way that you want it to perform? And don't feel like it has to just be like this is my weight spectrum, like, and that can shift over time as your goals change as well. So it's all right to have a spectrum, and it's all right to but you want to just catch yourself when you get towards the top end of that spectrum and just bring yourself back down again. That is weight loss maintenance. So it doesn't mean never trying to lose weight again, but it does mean understanding that you're you have a lower range to stay in, and as long as you can keep off as much of that as possible, that is fantastic. Most weight is regained within the first like 3 to 5 years, and most weight is regained within the first year. But like if you can continue these behaviors and improve these behaviors, it will actually get easier over time to keep it off. So like the more it becomes a behavioral shift, the more that it becomes habitual, the easier it is to keep it off for the long term. So I really just want to highlight this, that it's not all doom and gloom. You won't be dieting forever, but like it's important to remember that self-correction and like just understanding your maintenance is really a key part of like maintenance and losing weight and keeping it off. But it doesn't mean that you will never be in a calorie deficit every day. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Like, and it's okay for goals to change, and it's okay for you to be maintenance and like for things to shift. And that is something that like I've had to come to terms with a lot for myself. Is just in like, Polly, like it's okay if you want to like lose weight to get your weight back down again. And that was something that was quite hard like in my head to address, and it also was quite hard on the flip side of for me to have been like to basically reduce that urge to diet originally. When I stopped, like when I ended my weight loss, like it was quite hard for me to then shift into like no longer like wanting to diet. So like there's a lot of mindset challenges that come along with it like too, and I think that's really important to recognize and to talk about. Yeah, so my question number 3, my motivation's at an all-time low. I'm really struggling with staying motivated, and what are some things that I can do basically when I'm not motivated. So you might have heard me talk about motivation before. It kind of comes down to 4 key things. How can I make it easier? Like how can you make it easier for yourself to do the thing? How can you make it more enjoyable? How can you make it more values aligned, so aligned with like your like beliefs, and how can you make it more goals aligned, so like goal aligned to your overarching like thing. So if you do those 4 things, you will be more motivated to do something, like you will act better. But I also wanted to highlight the next best thing here. So the next best thing is basically when you can't be perfect, what's the next best thing that you can do? And it's this like mindset that I came up with as a way to like see options and see like different avenues that you can take. And I want to give you kind of like a few examples of stuff that you can do. So first off, exercise. What's the next best thing there? So say your goal is to do your workout and you're like, I'm not going to be able to make it to the gym today, but ended up working really late. I'm not going to make it to like the gym. Option number 1 is shorten it. Can we do a shorter session? So like your session usually takes like an hour. Can we shorten it to half an hour? You literally go in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like off we go. And like what can we do there? Like can you shorten it? Can you do it on a different day? Can you just do something different? Can you just take a break and miss that session for the day and say, okay, that's fine, I'm going to get my next session in tomorrow and just carry on with this week. It'll just be a 2-session week rather than 3 sessions. Food. How can you make it easier for yourself to get the like more optimal food in? One thing to do ahead of time is, if you are like batch cooking a meal, is to stick a portion in the freezer. So say you make bolognese and you make 4 portions, can you stick 2 portions in the freezer? Like or say you do bolognese and make 8 portions. We have a huge bolognese here. Can 2 to 4 portions go in the freezer, and then you have a portion today and a portion tomorrow? Like as like I'm going with you and your partner here. Like I'm assuming you're a 2-person household, but however that works best for you. But yeah, like just asking yourself, how can I make it easier for myself in the long run? The other thing in there is, can we do a freezer meal? Say Jules and I have had a long day at work. We've come back, or like Jules come back from work, and I'm like, right, well, what should we do for dinner? And we're both like, happy asked. So we will often have a freezer meal, but what we do here is we make sure that it has component parts in it, so it has some protein in. So say for example, we might do like a frozen fish. We've got some frozen fishes that work. I think they're about 230 calories, 250 calories, and they have about 20 to 25 grams of protein in, great. And then we'll stick some like frozen mixed veg on there, or some frozen peas, or some edamame beans, like something like that, to get some fiber in there as well. And we'll ideally try have a nice whack of those so that we're getting plenty of fiber and we're just staying full up longer. And then we might even just go for some frozen chips and just do a portion of frozen chips. But like we've still had a nutritious meal, but it was made from things in the freezer. So like that is the next best thing. Joe Perfect would have been like we ate a meal that was made from scratch, but like, yeah, life's too short. Another thing that you can do is say like, okay, well, if I'm always noticing that this is happening, the next best thing might be that actually on a Sunday night I sit down and plan what I'm going to be eating for the week, whether that be for dinners, whether that be for like lunches, like whatever it is that you are needing to like plan and prep. And if in doubt, just build your plate. So like quarter of the plate wants to be protein, quarter of the plate wants to be a carbohydrate, and half the plate wants to be fruit, veg, or salad. That's a really easy thing to do. That's exactly what we do with the freezer meals. Just that build your plate. Next thing is steps. But ask yourself, like, what can you feasibly do? So, like, especially if you're finding your target quite overwhelming, say you're in for like 8,000, 10,000 steps per day, ask yourself, like, how do I get in 4,000 steps, right? I need to do 2 walks and then some pottering around the house and I'll hit my step goal today. How do I manage that? And just finding ways to manage that which work for you, and just going, right, okay, so a 4,000 step walk takes me about 35 minutes. How am I going to get out today? When have I got a 35-minute gap? And just making a plan for you to do things. And then just, asking yourself, like, how can you negotiate with yourself if you can't do, like, what you want to do? So say, for example, you are, like, it gets to the end of the day and you're like, I'm on 3,000 steps, guys. I'm not hitting my 8,000 today. Can you go do another 3,000 steps and just get yourself to 6,000? I know a lot of people use like step-in workouts on YouTube. It's currently the consistency games. One of the things that's come up in the group chat at the moment is Get Fit with Rick and using his step-in workouts. So yeah, absolutely do those. I've heard those work quite well for getting an extra like 5,000 steps in, and you don't really feel like you're doing it. You're just having a little dance around your living room. So yeah, that's always an option. But yeah, just asking yourself, what feasibly can you do? And then water, can you make it tastier? Can you have it as a peppermint tea? Can you have it with a little bit of squash? Like what's the situation? Or is it the case of like at this time of year, you're constantly falling short on your water goal? Can you go a little bit lower on it because, well, you're not sweating as much because it's colder? So like asking yourself what you can do, what's the next best thing that you can do? And if you ever find that you're lacking in motivation, ask yourself, what can I manage? A lot of the time we focus on what we can't do. I want you to flip that perspective and just ask yourself, what can I do? Like, what can I manage? That's really helpful. So do you have to lift weights to lose weight? No. Short answer, no. Long answer, you should do though. Basically, when you lose weight, the only thing that you technically need is a calorie deficit. So that's where calories in lower than calories out. So we have an energy gap, and that gap is then makes your body seek from its energy, stored energy, to basically use that instead to supply its needs. But your body will go for the most expensive things that it has first, because imagine you were basically in a budget cut. You'd look at the most expensive things first. You're not looking at the cheapest things because you're like, well, we do those anyway. Like that's fine, we can manage that. I can afford £18 a month or whatever. But like, say you look at the thing that's costing you, I don't know, £1,000 a month. You're like, oh well, maybe we need to budget cut somewhere. If you are in like your office and you are like the finance person or whatever. So if you basically your body does the same thing. It's going to look for the most expensive things first. Now, muscle is more expensive for your body than what fat is. Muscle burns about 10 to 13 calories per kilogram per day, and body fat burns around 3 to 6 calories, I think, per kilogram of body fat per day. So it is lower. It's not a huge amount, but it is lower, like on average. Or is it 6 to 8? It's lower. My brain has just gone completely blank. But so your body will try to get rid of the more expensive things first, and that is lean mass and like muscle mass, bone mass. So if you're not unless you signal to your body that you want to keep it, the way that you do that is resistance. So if you have some resistance and use your muscles, you will tell your body, I need to keep these muscles around, and it'll go, all right, and it'll go, we're using these, we can't get rid of them, so it will go to the fat cells, and it will go use up its other energy reserves. Say you are like putting that resistance on the bone mass as well, that's then going to mean that your body's not going to go to like you're just not going to go for your bone mass. So like this is really important that you do some sort of resistance training and tell your body that you need your muscle, you need your bone mass, and it will therefore keep that around. And that is really key when you are losing weight. Like that's something I would highlight, is that if you can lift weights, I feel like that's just the moral of all of these questions is, can you just lift some weights? And yeah, like 1 to 2 days a week, the structure that I said above for the PCOS question, that would work there. Even if it's just the minimum, like of those 1 to 2 days per week, I would say 2 days really is like what you want to be aiming for, like at the lowest. Even at home or at the gym, like just making sure that you are doing some sort of resistance training to get yourself covered, basically. So the answer to that is like, do you have to lift weights to lose weight? No, but you probably should. And yeah, that is it for today's Q&A. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please give me a 5-star review for this podcast, because one, it helps other people find it, and two, it is just really useful to see. If it's anything less than a 5-star, I'm not interested. So fives only, please, fives only. And it would be absolutely fantastic to see some more questions coming through. If you've got any more questions, I actually love doing these Q&A episodes, so yeah, holler them in. And if you want to drop me a message on Instagram, just at Holly Mills Fitness with your questions and just say this is for the Q&A episode of the podcast, I'm more than happy to answer them on there. But otherwise, have an absolutely fantastic rest of the day, and I will catch you in the next one.